Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited about this topic because I always get asked by different designers about PR. Is it worth it? Is it valuable? When should I get it? How much does it cost? So many questions. And we're going to find out a lot today. So here is Raymond Schneider of RPS. Hey, Ray, how are you, honey bunny?
Hi, Gail. I'm good. I feel like it's not a day if I don't see or hear from you. So great.
Cool. No, this will be good. So I don't know, you want to talk about how we met or?
I love that because I think it's so endemic to the conversation because it's all relationship driven, right? Public relations,
True.
Relating to the public. So
True.
I think you came to a couple of events at one point with and without your handsome husband, Ben. And then randomly we were both at the Short Hills Mall in Restoration Hardware, and I saw you and you saw me and we recognized each other. And I think I was with my husband at the time.
Yeah. Sorry about the dogs, everybody. This is what it is.
So yours are going to get mine started, just so you know. They're down low. And I remember that we chatted and you told me about Grace's house you were going to start working on.
Yes.
And then around the same time, I went out on my own and started my own firm. And then you told me all about Grace's house, which is this amazing show house that was to benefit children with blood disorders. And this particular woman, Grace, had a horrible brain tumor. And my two stepdaughters actually carry a trait for beta thalassemia, which is a blood disorder similar to sickle cell, but it's more endemic of South Mediterranean. So Italian, Greek, Turkish, that type of thing. So because of that, I felt very connected. And I remember saying to you, well, who's repping you? Who's bringing you into the show house? Who's getting the editors from New York into Jersey? And I remember very organically, I said, well, I'm coming out for the press day and I'm inviting, as I call it, all the kids from New York. If I have to drive them myself. And I remember that we had this really amazing, fun time at this show house, and Grace was amazing and wonderful. And I remember that, Hadley came, Ben came, Catherine Given came, Dale came, we had this really great walkthrough, and it was a beautiful show house. And then I just remember our relationship grew from that. And I think the most important thing for me is that relationships shouldn't be transactional.
True.
When you go into life and you go into this type of relationship, I think it has to be authentic and you have to have the chemistry. I think if you look at people and attribute dollar signs over their head, you're just, it's never going to be anything more than that. And I remember I said to you, no, we're good. Let me just come. Let me just help you, because I was like, we bonded being Tauruses and dog lovers and all that.
It's Taurus season, people. It's Taurus season.
Taurus season. And it just grew from there. And we sort of grew together because your business expanded while my business was expanding. And I feel that in so many ways, you really were my first client on my own solo. And so I love you, but everybody who knows Gail should love Gail anyway.
Thank you, sir.
And then thank you. And then our relationship grew, and, you did two amazing show houses for Aspire. You have Kaleidoscope coming up. And so, so many exciting things. But I remember in the beginning, you sat down with me and said, oh, you're so different from other PR people I've met. You're so different from sort of the energy I've received and the way that things were approached. And I think in essence, you said to me, things felt very transactional for you.
Yeah, well, it's also that it seemed like you had to be a big fish before people wanted to connect with you. Like they wanted you to have, they want you basically to be like a mini Bunny Williams. And I was like, well, if that's the level that you're looking for, then what do why would a person need a PR person? I feel like it's for people that are trying to get their name out there, that are trying to get showcased, that are trying to get into magazines, like all of the above. And it was just really a great conversation that we had. Let me just go back to Grace's house for a quick second. When I was doing Grace's house, they had the banner outside the house, and the banner was over my window. So they rolled it up so I could get the shots for rayon, but then I was like, that's a window and we still need natural light coming in. And I kept saying, all you have to do is move it over, right? And they're like, yeah. Like they were just like, whatever, lady, whatever. And no one was moving it over. And so I was getting upset. I was getting annoyed. Raymond gets out of the car, he comes up, he starts speaking to the guys. Next thing I know, a ladder's put up, like people are coming in, they're taking the sign down, they're moving it over. And I was like, wow, okay, yeah, this is what I needed. And it's just funny because I think people don't realize that PR, and it's not just Raymond, I have a lot of friends in PR that if they're great PR people, and this is what I want to get across to anybody that's listening, they will go to bat for you 110%. They will make you shine, and they take that weight off of you, and and they do their thing. So I'll let you finish, Raymond, but I just wanted to say that.
100%, 100%. Well, first of all, I invoked a little Joan Crawford with that, where, take that
Yes.
B of a bearing wall and put a window where a window ought to be. And so it was sort of, as my mother would affectionately say, from my father, who was raised in Brooklyn in the 1940s, when he would curse when I was growing up, Brooklynese. I gave a little Brooklynese of like, can we please move that effing banner? And I got the guys to laugh, and they laughed so hard. They were like, yes. I'm like, I'll go up on the ladder with you, but let's not block a window, because it's just sort of like, to me, it was a simple 101 thing, but Gail knows this and other people watching don't. I was a designer for 15 years, high-end residential based in New York City. And before then, I'm going to date myself, but like from 96 and on, I worked in the D&D building for Robert Allen Fabrics and for Nancy Corzine for a number of years before I was hired out of the showroom by this really fancy decorator, where we didn't believe in PR. So I grew up in this world, and we talked about it on your podcast, where you didn't discuss money. There were no budgets, there was no contract, and by no means were you going into anybody's house and photographing it. And of course, this was 2000 by the time I shifted into interior design. So we're talking like 2000 to 2006 and 7, where it, that certain level of wealth didn't want you in their house. They didn't want to scream what they owned or what they had, and they didn't want you going in. But my first photo shoot was with Cynthia Frank, who was producing it for House and Garden at the time. And it was, I think, the second of the 3 times House and Garden was killed, came back, resurrected, and then ultimately, killed again in like 2000, whatever, 7 or 8, was the last relaunch. And so it was with Melanie Acevedo. And I remember it was this ridiculously gorgeous, beautiful Park Avenue apartment. I didn't have any part of the design, but when I started working, I started doing the installation, and everything was perfect. And then when the photographer started moving all the furniture and moving everything, I started to get like sweats because I have a little OCD. And I'm like, why are we moving everything? So fast forward, one of my favorite things to do is help my clients develop the imagery. But
which is a big deal, and people don't understand that. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. Yeah.
Versus talking over each other. So here's the thing that a lot of designers, and please start with your questions, because you all are asking me. He's here now. Put your questions in there and let's talk about it. When you do a room, you just can't think like it's pretty. You have to think of it editorial wise. And a lot of designers don't do it. And if you don't, your pictures are just going to lay flat.
Well, because there's no intent. That's the problem. People shoot for purpose. Like mainly it's Instagram #1, portfolio #2, or it's I have somebody on staff that can do 100 different shoots for pennies for me. And that's all wonderful and it's great. But if you're not shooting with intent, and the intent isn't for editorial, then the images we as PR people receive, they're not conveying any personality or any story. And gone are the days. And going back to parking, back then all you needed to do was sit with Paige Renz with gorgeous images and say, and also they were printed at that time because nothing was digital. So you really led with beautiful pictures. It wasn't about the homeowner. It wasn't about what was in it. It was about the whole 360-degree experience. Now, as you and I know from working together, it's not about that. What's the narrative? Who lives here? Why did they choose this house? Why did they choose that designer? What has the designer brought to the table? Was there some crazy challenge that you needed to overcome? What's the family like? Are there people of note, charitable, sort of philanthropic people? I sort of say to my clients, they're, going with pretty pictures saying I have yet one more really wealthy couple who's allowed me to do this amazing home is not the story.
Right.
And it, you have to always think, I think, with intent. And that's using a stylist. Or, if you're weird like I am and have all these different skill sets from, 25 years in this business, or I come in and style like I have for you for the Aspire show houses, and I love doing that. There's got to be intent and purpose with all public relations, from the imagery to your communication. And ultimately, I can't create my clients' products or projects.
Right.
I'm only as strong as what I'm receiving. And so even though we do, as you said before, take something off your shoulders, we also, if you're doing your job well in public relations, you're also giving a lot of homework to your clients. You're helping them develop their own voice. You're giving them a series of questions and a questionnaire that, as whenever you have a finished project, I have to ascertain all the information, the who, what, where, when, press requests that are reactive that come in that I share with you. You have to then think about those answers. But as you know, I'll help you steer to the right answer. I'll help grammatically write it. I'll help tell the story, but I need the raw information from all of my clients. So the weight is lifted in the heavy weight, the heavy lifting rather, but there is still homework and challenge on the designer's end that they have to be aware of. I think some people have interviewed me and thought, well, you just do everything and I just write the check and I don't even have to think about it. And then you have to, and you have to have that education and say, well, it's actually not really like that, but I should be a valued member of your team. My fee should be an investment in your business and not perceived as an expense, going back to the non-transactional part of it. I may not be full-time in your office, but as you well know, I speak to my clients multiple times a week. So like you were saying, you want to make sure, whether it's me or any of the amazing colleagues, and we want to shout out Tiana Webb Evans because we love her. And that's one of the friends that Gail was talking about, but we have so many friends in this business.
And Ann Feldstein as well.
And Joseph Aldrich and Melissa Mittag, Susan Besher, and
like there's a lot of great ones out there, but you have to find the one that fits you. It's a marriage.
That's exactly it. There isn't competition. And I think I may have relayed this to you. I was having a conversation ages ago when I first started my business. And I had said to somebody, I don't believe in competition. And this person looked at me and said, well, you're just stupid then. And I said, no, I'm actually not.
There's enough for all of us.
And water seeks its own level. Take time to talk to people, see how they answer questions. I think how they talk about finances and fees tells a lot about somebody. Also in your line of business too, as a designer, finances aren't a favorite part of the conversation, but you pull that Band-Aid off and then you get to do the fun part. But I think how somebody you're interviewing, I think the way they answer certain questions are going to really illustrate to you, are they going to be a partner? And is this relationship going to be long-term? Because transient relationships, PR is not a light switch or a faucet. You can't just turn it on and turn it off, because something I may have pitched 3 months ago comes to fruition. I mean, Toledo Geller is an amazing example of Virginia's House and Better Homes and Gardens. That was an 18-month process. From me sitting down and having lunch with the always lovely Monica Biegler-Ayers at Better Homes and Gardens, to April of this year, the issue coming out. And all of the stuff in between, like COVID. So you have to be in it for the long game. Chess, not checkers. But chemistry is key.
It absolutely is. It was funny when we did Grace's show house, I had all the designers coming up asking me about Raymond and, how does he work? How much does he charge? And then one of them was price shopping and like calling all across the country. And what you don't understand is like the PR industry is a small group of people. So they're all telling each other about that same individual that's reaching out. And you just have to be mindful and know what it is that you want when you go in. Like, I know a lot of people start in this business and they're like, oh, I want to be in a magazine. I want this. And that's great and all, but you have to, it's like how I map out goals. I have 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 3 years, and in the 3 months, this is what I want to accomplish. In 6 months, this is what I want to accomplish. And that's how you have to do it. I also feel very strongly that when you get into this industry, it's head down and do really good work.
100%.
That is what gets you noticed. And I cannot stress this enough, kindness, right? Because Yeah, kindness goes a whole long way than being bitchy McBitchy. It's just, it's not a cool thing to do. And I think for me, because I come from working class, I'm like, I would want my parents to be treated this way, with kindness and with empathy, and like, okay, a conversation, how was your day? And like, Raymond said, not transactional. So
Being a
just
human
be
being, being a
mindful
human
about
being.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, so I want to talk about Jessica Delaney. Jessica, I hope you're out there. She is this amazing photographer in Massachusetts. And we were talking about PR when I went to, when I was in Massachusetts meeting her for something. And she's like, well, like, how do I know? I really want to get PR. What is it like? And, so I gave her a name. I was like, well, try this woman. She's over here, because she's female empowerment, like we all are. No offense, Raymond.
Listen, I am the definition of the gay man that is all female power. Hey.
And this is why I love you. So, she was like, oh, she's asking me all these questions. I was like, I can't answer that. I do design. You have to speak to your person and find out, because what a designer wants out of a PR person is very different than what a photographer would want out of a PR person, which is very different than what an architecture firm would want
Or
from
a
a PR
product
person.
company, exactly, or a brand.
Yeah, you want to talk about the different aspects of each?
Well, the funny thing is when you mentioned Jessica to me, and my head started to spin. I do have to say, I do think that public relations for a photographer and photography is a bit more tricky, because if you are an interiors photographer, the work that you are showing is actually the work of the designer. You're capturing it as a photographer, so you get a little tricky and a little layering into it. As a designer, obviously, that is your work. You've conceived it, you've executed it, you've installed it. It's your brainchild, it's your intellectual property. And this amazing photographer that you've built a relationship with is framing it and capturing it and lighting it beautifully and helping you envision that story. And, photography is key. And just because I don't want to jump around too much, but going back to the intent of photography, I really want to spit out that you're investing as a designer $3,000 to $5,000 per day, depending on the photographer, right? And that doesn't include a stylist, that's separate. You need to make sure that you are capturing your home as if it was a guided tour through that front door. What rooms are you going into? What's to the right? What's to the left? How do these rooms intersect? I need to be able to illustrate to any editor where they can look at the images in order. I build these beautiful PDFs, as you know, and I put them in order with a description. Nobody's getting, hey, it's a pretty picture. But with that, you're saying, oh, here's the front door. Oh, to the right is the living room. Oh, to the left is the dining room. The dining room goes to the butler's pantry. Oh, the kitchen. Oh, it swings around to a family room. Oh, then we have the stairs, so on and so forth. And, stop with the detail shots. I don't need 50
My
minutes.
God, yes, thank you for saying that. I'm sorry, everybody. I really do hate those vignette shots.
No, they're good. They're good, but I don't need 80 pictures of nail heads and bouillon fringe. You didn't invent it. Louis something or other invented it 300 years ago. So I get that there are certain elements that one should be proud about, but I think that's where a really good publicist comes in and says to the designer, you're really deep in the forest. You can't see the trees. You need to take a step back, because you've been invested in this project for anywhere from 18 months to 2 or 3 years, depending on the size and scope. And so you are so intimately invested in every decision you made. You need fresh eyes to come in and mess it up a little bit. So It doesn't look like everything was unboxed and unpacked and installed that day. It doesn't look like a showroom.
Right.
It has to have life and vitality. It has to be fully realized. It has to be, something where you throw something in a little, maybe pillows or something that you didn't design and sell to the client, that you bring in just for the zhuzh, for the styling, that mixes it up, creates a little tension. Sometimes designers have a really hard time with that, because they're deeply invested with what it was on paper and now what it's become. But I guarantee you, when you relinquish that control a little bit and you allow that to happen, I just shot Kendall's house with Paul Dyer in San Fran, and
Kendall Wilkinson, everyone.
And she was like having a difficult time, because, she's got a big staff, lots of projects, and I'm running around her house. And so we sort of I shifted rather, her living room floor plan because 2 chairs came in that were a gift from somebody, and they were actually attributed to the guy who designed and built the house in 1915. So she had them refinished. So we have 2 big chairs. So basically she walks away, she goes to me and she comes back and I completely moved the floor plan. And I was fully expecting that because you've lived with it. She looks at me and she's like, I love this. It's not going back to the way it was. This is how it's going to stay. And at first, you know, I was like, I'm going to move it all back. I promise. I just shifted everything. She's like,
Right.
really? I love it. And so I think sometimes having that fresh set of eyes, it's not about me. It's about, you know, amazing stylists that are out there. I mean, there's Frances Bailey, there's Anita Sarciti. There are these great people that are going to help you really elevate what you've done.
Yeah.
And of course, flowers are an art, and the florals are really endemic to beautiful styling. So I want designers to know that you have an investment here, and you have to think about all of the things you do under the public relations umbrella should be considered an investment and not an expense. Once you have these images and you go through the process of pitching it, you have to be realistic of where it's going. Everybody likes to come out of the woodwork and say, I wanted to go to this magazine. And it's like, have you picked up the magazine in the last 6 months?
Can we talk about that? Wait,
have you seen what the magazine?
Yeah. And before we get to that, I just want to go back to the flowers. Have several bouquets. Stop having that one bouquet go throughout your whole entire shot. Like it's just
spend $300 on any given project on flowers. You really are. Oh, do we have questions that we should be mindful of?
Yes, I'm trying to read it, so bear with me, people. Love all the info and reference. Whoops, hold on. Bear with me, gorgeous people. Love all the info and reference to all the pros. Any chance to get a list of these pros? I'm in LA. All right, Gabrielle.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're also going to say there's Eric Perez at Hello PR, who's in LA, who is handsome, lovely, wonderful. He and his partner do fantastic. There's Spread PR. Tyler and Stephanie are fantastic. There's Michael McGraw. Of course, there's Schumacher's own Elizabeth Blitzer. There are so many amazing people out there, just like there are so many amazing designers. I think it's important for you to shop them. Everybody has a website. Right. Go check out those websites. Yep. Go see the type of clients they have, because that's going to let you know what type of pool you're going to fit into.
Right.
It's important to me that my clients all work well with one another. And I have to say, I'm probably the luckiest boy in PR because I have the best clients, and Gail knows everybody, and everybody loves everybody. And, but I think that's important because you do become like a family, just like you with your clients. So I think it's important to see who they work with, what types of clients. Some people are more geared towards products, some people more to designers, some people like me, it's a mix. I don't want to forget, by the way, Tiffany and Byron from Cordero. I want to make sure that everybody who I love, I want to say hi. Oh, and Kayla and Brandon from
we have to mention a few people.
Like, I'm sorry, I just want everybody to know that.
I need to add someone also, once again, because it's girl power, Ann Feldstein of Moxie in New York City. She's really great and amazing. It's Long Island girl. In fact, all three of us.
If we forgot anybody, it's just
yes, we're just talking.
Yeah, the everything framing, but I cannot say this enough. Water seeks its own level. Find the person that's going to mesh well with you, but you want somebody that's really going to communicate. If we are communication specialists, the communication has to be strongest within our own clientele, much less what we're doing to the outside world. And to make sure that the person you are speaking with has authentic relationships with the editorial community. And what I mean by authentic is just like Gail and I are like husband and wife here, going back and forth. It's the same thing. You know, editors work so hard. We know that the climate of publishing is tough. They're getting 3,000 emails a day. Give these people 5 minutes to get back to you. But also don't waste their time with pitches that are not endemic to the DNA and model of that publication or that outlet. Educate yourself. And it's great to have aspirations as a designer, whether it's AD, ED, Lux, House Beautiful, whatever the magazine is, but you have to make sure that your work is commensurate with what that magazine does, the storytelling, and it changes every 6 months. These magazines are shifting. COVID shifted a lot of storytelling. You know, editors have come and gone and moved, some new editors in chiefs. So your PR person needs to have intimate knowledge and relationships, and you need to vet that. And it's super crucial that they also have relationships with the business side of the magazines, not just the editorial side. And those are the ad reps and the sales team, because they're amazing human beings. They work super hard, but you never know what opportunities they might present you with. That's usually where the sponsored show houses come from. Like Aspire that we mentioned, that puts on more show houses than anybody else and does it beautifully. Oh, and Andrew Joseph, I don't want to forget.
I know.
Andrew, love you. No, but it's so important that this is an investment. Fee's going to run entry 3,000 and go up to 8, 10 plus. What's going to hit the higher mark? How big is the company? How many? If it's really going to be more product companies that start to have to pay higher and higher, because really there's a lot more work that goes into it. How many collections, what are the expectations? Are you an advertiser? Book tours are at the higher end, but I think that it's fair. Like you were talking about staging goals 3, 6, 9. Sometimes I work with people, I start lower and the fee grows to a certain degree and it's all outlined in a very clear letter of agreement, because I want to build something with somebody whom I'm really attracted to. And, you know, like this Murphy bed company came my way, and I grew up on a Murphy bed on Long Island in Montauk, and not a fancy Murphy bed like this. And I usually don't do per project stuff anymore, but they were the nicest human beings. And I was like, I would have loved to have grown up on this type of Murphy bed. I had like the old rickety 1965 model.
The I Love Lucy.
Yeah,
I Love Lucy one.
And, you know, we're Long Islanders. So
listen, it is what it is. We come from humble beginnings.
We do. Bricklayer grandfather that built Levittown with John Levitt. I mean, you and I are humble. That's why we like the kindness factor of it. But, you know, I was excited about the Murphy bed because I grew up on one. So when there's a connection, you feel that on both sides.
Just a quick question, once again, Gabrielle, are the fees per project or is there a retainer?
No, I'm speaking in terms of recurring monthly fee. So not a retainer, because a retainer means you're applying it towards something. These are fixed fees, and this is customary and usual across the spectrum for PR, pretty much worldwide, that you're paying a recurring monthly flat fee based on usually a year contract. I do think a year is important because, like, for instance, if Gail and I started on June 1st, we would have missed January through May, and all of those issues and themes and those opportunities. But as when I started my business, I did some per project work. I think people do that. I think it's a little bit more difficult to find because for me, where I've grown is I want my clients to be my clients forever. I know that it's naive, nothing lasts forever, but as long as my clients are doing well in their business and we have something to talk about and I'm doing well in my business, we're all here to service one another.
Right.
So I'm not interested in having rotating clients, because you put so much time and effort on both ends of the relationship, investing just to get the ball rolling, just in reviewing who each other are, dating, getting to know each other, reviewing work, talking about future goals. 6 months, it's like, oh, I can't snap because there you go. That's when 6 months goes. I mean, if anybody would have told me I was waking up today and it was going to be May 6th, I would have said, you're batshit crazy. But here we are and it's May 6th. And I truly have no memory of what happened for the last 5 months. Yes. So you have to think about it in terms. And once again, because I was a designer, I know somebody can say, hey, let's say it's a $5,000 a month fee. 12 months, that's a $60,000 salary I could use. Absolutely. And you can think along those terms. But the person that you're hiring for the design is a specific side of the business. If you really want to grow your business, and I think part of this conversation is, when do you need PR? You can invoke PR whenever you want to. But if you don't have content, you don't have really good photographs and work lined up that we can 3, 6, 9 months work from, then the investment isn't going to be as worth it for your pocket as it would when you're at a point where you have multiple projects that haven't been seen by the editorial world. They're new or newish. You are a product company that have a lot of new collections coming out, and you want to start building the relationships with the magazines and the digital outlets. And you also want to embark on maybe some advertising. You know, all of that is under our umbrella. because we're talking to all sides of the magazine. And I think it's just sort of crucial to understand that there are times I have conversations, and I've had about 6 new business conversations in the last week. Gail knows all about them because, you know, we chit chat like nobody's business. But, you know, I've said to a couple of people, as I'm sure my colleagues have, take the money you want to invest in PR right now and focus on the photography. I'll introduce you to photographers. I'm happy pro bono to look at projects and give you like a little bit of guidance of where you should go, but invest in that first. Then come back when you have all of that, because then we're going to hit the ground running in a different way where that investment is you're going to feel better about it.
Yeah.
In
Can
my
I just
opinion.
say, I just want to say too with that, because a lot people that have come to you that I've sent your way. I remember one person in particular that came to you, and you and I had a conversation. You're like, she just has nothing to show me. She has nothing. And I cannot stress enough that, you know, no, you weren't being mean about it, but it's like, you know, like you said, I'm not a magician. I can't hocus pocus put this person, like they said their goals and where they want to be, and that's fine. But once again, you have to have the work to show to go there, you know. And I just want to jump back to show houses for a second. That is a missed opportunity for a lot of designers. One, it is an expense, but if you do it the way I do, then it's barely an expense. But I'm just saying, a show house allows you to basically unleash your creativity on a space without any client in your ear saying what you can and cannot do, right?
You get to create the environment that's your
Yes.
DNA without any
Yes.
influence. So it's really who you are as a person. And you know,
And that one good photo can rock it. Because remember when we were in Bernardsville and I was finally done, I was like, oh, and you came and you're like, you hit this out of the ballpark. And that made me feel
well, I'm a huge proponent of show houses because, as you know, I did Kips Bay as the vice president and senior designer for Philip Gorovin and for Amanda Nisbet. And I've also done Oceans 3, which was a show house that Traditional Home sponsored on Long Island and Montauk. And I've had clients do, you know, Holiday House and, you know, pretty much all of the big ones, Greystone when they were doing that. I have Kendall's done the San Francisco Showcase, Applegate Trans doing it this year, even though it's all virtual. I think that show houses are amazing tools, but don't do it to be meek. Go big or go home.
100.
Blow that shit out.
100.
100%. Envision what you want, who you are as a designer, and talk to your PR person. Who can help sponsor you? Who can help donate or connect you with product? Because you're going to give them PR in return. So think about it as a partnership. Yes, you're going to have to come out of pocket for certain aspects of it, but really think about it as collaborative. And once again, that's the non-transactional part of it. Think about, I rub your back, you rub my back, we become friends. The relationship just grows from there. But I believe show houses are an amazing tool. And then they give you content for Instagram and also other social outlets, but also your portfolio. So if you're a designer that doesn't have a ton of projects or complete homes, because you really have to pitch a complete house, we should say that. You can't really pitch one room. That's more of a reactive press where, you know, Wall Street Journal or My Domain or Apartment Therapy or any of those amazing journalists are coming to you and saying, hey, Raymond, these are my stories for this month. And then I sit back and I'm like, oh, Isabel's got this amazing master bedroom, or Gail's got this amazing master bedroom, or whatever it is, or primary bedroom, we're calling it now. Sorry. I have to get used to that. And you're creating content that will help bolster what you have if you're sort of starting out. It's a really wonderful tool. So I agree with you. I'm a big team fan of it. Team Show House all the way.
I have Luba. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. What kind of an investment is a show house? Oh, listen, that runs the gamut.
Depends on what you want to do and what you want to pay for. It could be the hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're doing a major space in Kips Bay. You could come out of pocket 6 figures easily.
Easy. I had a friend that did, I think she did the Holiday House, and all she did was the stairwell. That's it, just the stairwell. She said that cost her north of $11,000. She was like, I was not anticipating that.
Well, you do. So here's the thing. First of all, big shout out to Iris Dankner, who's
Yes.
magnificent and the founder of Holiday House. And for those of you who may not know, she's a breast cancer survivor and an interior designer. And she started Holiday House 12 or 13 years ago at this point, because I know we did the 10th anniversary book and COVID skewed me, but something like that. And the theme of it is the designers have to pick a holiday to model their room or inspire their room. But it doesn't have to just be Christmas or Halloween. It could be like any holiday globally of any culture. You can really think outside the box. And I think when you have that moment, you can give, there's a lot of opportunity to really sow those creative oats and do something that's really exciting. Like Toledo Geller's doing the beautiful house, beautiful whole home in Fredericksburg outside of Houston, you know, and, you know, I was like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I kept on saying, it's your decision, but you got to do it. And so it was like that Taurus passive aggressive, like totally, I get it. If it's not in your bandwidth, but you got to do it.
Right.
You know, but I believe in it. Also, let's talk about the licensing and the products. That type of exposure, PR is really what primes you for that. And show houses help take it to another level. That's where you can start to build some really wonderful relationships with amazing companies like, you know, Fabric Cut that houses Kendall's collection and the Veils collection. And, you know, they're like Danica there is the most amazing human being. She will work with everybody from all the 5 brands in that company to give product, to donate, to support. And they do so much in the industry. So you really have to, I think, you know, a couple of things. I would say read Business of Home every day. Look at that newsletter. They're great at telling you what's happening in the business climate. AD Pro is also great giving you the news. You want to see who's building, who's moving, what they're doing. You want to have an idea. Show houses are usually announced on those 2 platforms first. Designers Today is another amazing trade publication that will break the news first too. So you really want to look at those things because that's often how you'll hear about the show houses in just the conceptual part. We know Aspire purchased a controlling stake in Gallery magazine, and they have an exquisite show house coming out this summer. Flower magazine's doing something amazing next year in Atlanta. So now that the pandemic is breaking and vaccinations are rocking and rolling, I think we're going to see a real return to form. And obviously, Palm Beach just had Kips Bay, which was amazing. And that was a physical show house. And they did a fantastic job. And shout out to Melissa and her amazing client, Ben Deeden, for doing that living room. But, and for using Tillet Textiles. See, that's one of the things. Melissa calls me because we both have Kentucky kids. I have Isabel and Ben, and they're both in Lexington, Kentucky. And so she's like, so Ben's doing this. And I'm like, does he need fabric? And he's like, oh, he really wants to do an homage to Bunny Mellon. And this is where Crazy can't remember to take out the garbage and the husband yells at him. But then Crazy remembers Bunny Mellon used to be a huge client of Tillet Textiles and Patrick's grandparents. And he has all the original screens. So Ben wants to recreate one of her fabrics for a Fifth Avenue apartment. Well, duh, he has the screen. So like that type of conversation, that's where there's no transactional nature of this, because at the end of the day, just being friends, being human, being kind, exchanging ideas, you never know where these pieces come.
Right.
And when you're crazy, a personality like me, stuff comes out of the cobwebs. And you connect those dots. And I think PR is all of those things. It's proactive press where you're pitching it to the outward world, products, people. You're seeking out authentic stories. You want frequency, you want diversity, and you want consistency. You want to have search engine optimization in the digital world where 75% of my press is digital. But when you, like, unfortunately, if Kendra Wilkinson, like, so much as belches, or her ex-husband, Kendall's CEO, goes wild because it's Kendall Wilkinson. But on normal days when we're not talking about Kendra, nobody cares about her or Hank, you Google Kendall and it's like 3 pages of stuff. That you cannot purchase. You cannot purchase that type of search engine optimization from Google. That is good old fashioned getting your name out there in these strategic digital platforms where you're going to build. And that's so crucial where we are digitally in this world and technologically, that you want that.
Yes.
You want that because it's going to help you with business. So when people Google you, they realize you're a valid, viable business.
True.
And they have confidence in spending with you as a designer, right? They're like, oh, look at Gail. I've seen her everywhere. She's got these show houses. She's the real deal. She's going to knock it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, that's really huge. Thank you. Does
Criticism.
anyone have any questions? We're trying to cover all points. It is super important. You have Raymond here, so let's ask the questions. You have to think about how you want to grow your business and where you want it to go. And it's not just a matter of employees, PR is a good part of that, and that will help you get to the next level. I just cannot stress that you really have to have the work to show, even if it's just a room, make it amazing and it can work out and,
Well, also, I think, something that popped into my mind that I think is really crucial for the audience is thought leadership is a huge component of my services. And what does that mean? It means that everything my clients are thinking about or working on, I am invested in, I want to know about. That's why I speak to. So a couple of things you should expect, I think, from a really good PR person is consistent communication. You are not having to wait 3 weeks to schedule a call between this hour and this hour. You're able to, I have clients in Europe, Transylvania, London, you got to WhatsApp people. It's a great free way of speaking to people when they're a globe away. But I really feel like, I do monthly reports because that helps keep all the stuff that I'm working on. I think it's important just in general that your clients know what you are working on at all times. I think that builds confidence. I think it's the same for you as a designer.
I was going to say that's the same. Yeah.
If you ghost somebody for 2 or 3 weeks, that starts to develop negative energy. It could undermine you because then they're thinking, well, what are you doing? So you don't ever want that relationship. You want to have a strong foundation. You want to have respect. They're just as busy as you are. So constant communication. Lots of times I'll just call a client out of the blue or text, or like we do the Memoji voice things, which amuses me. Because it's sort of ridiculous how much we both look like our Memojis. It still makes you laugh when you come up. But, at the same time, I want to stress that enough that there really feels like somebody cares about your business, that they're vested in your success, not just from the point of view of getting the paycheck, but because they want you to grow and do wonderful things.
I have a question for you. If most of a designer's business is from referrals, how would PR augment our business?
That's a great question. And that's a question I feel.
Thank you, Luba.
Thank you. So marketing and advertising are more transactional, right? They're geared towards trackability digitally, trackability from QR codes. So with advertising and marketing, return on investment is a far more tangible thing to map. PR, it's less tangible because you don't always know that because somebody read an article in a magazine that they are interested in working with you. Good potential clients will say, hey, I saw you here, X, Y, and Z. Then I believe you have that roadmap to say there's a direct return on investment. My measurement for, and I think Kendall's the perfect example. My measurement for this is when she's seeing an uptick in inquiries towards her, to her business. We're looking at the analytics on her website, and the day after some press pieces came out, we see these, and it doesn't dip down like Everest. It's been a constant momentum. So we're seeing the activity going to her website, which means people read the article, they clicked on her, they Googled her because they were interested. I believe then, Luba, you can start to map things. But the truth is my business is referral as well. Nothing is ever going to beat, no matter how fancy we are, good
Isabel.
and referral. But here's where PR comes in. If you're starting out and it's a small firm, you're going to charge less. You want to build your name for you. As you start to establish your name with public relations strategically in your region and nationally, you get to start charging more in line of what the national higher end designers charge. You have then established credibility to charge that model, the cost plus the design fee, because you deserve to. But lots of times we know, all of us who are entrepreneurs who have started our own businesses, that we've not started charging the highest amounts.
Right.
We've charged lower fees as we've progressed. So I believe the most direct return on investment for PR is being able to build your reputation, get your charging methodology higher and in line with the more, high-end part of this industry. Then brands will get interested in you. You can get brand ambassadorships, panel discussions. who knows, licensing deals, if that's what
Mm,
you're interested in,
yeah,
book deals, if that's what you're interested in. But that's where the 3-5 year plans are really important,
come in.
because those are much longer. And my last thing to answer that question is, or my last comment is, regional publications are so important for designers because they direct you more straightforward to potential clients than nationals. Nationals are amazing, but when you
True.
have 800,000 people reading a magazine, only a fraction of them are homeowners really looking to expand. Where if you're looking at like New York Cottages and Gardens and you're buying a new apartment in Manhattan, you're going to see somebody in there that's more prone to explore their work. So the power of regional, I think, is something key.
Okay. So from Liz McEnany, I hope I'm saying that correct. I am unclear on what a stylist does at the shoot. Always thought the designer was the stylist. No, ma'am. What is an approximate hourly rate for one? Thanks. You're welcome.
Okay, so those are amazing questions. So stylists work for a flat rate per day. You're going to spend around $1,500 to $3,000 for a day rate. What they are responsible to do is to help you fully realize your home. So you got an apartment and you've got this amazing living room and you're shooting it and you've designed it. They are going to come in and they are going to shift and move and help frame these images. They are going to literally take what you've designed into the next level. The styling means they're going to move pieces of furniture. They're going to adjust the way they're viewed in the camera. They're going to work with the photographer as a creative director on the shoot. And they're going to do it in a way that, and I will tell you, most designers are not stylists. You said that to me the first time we really worked together. It was stressing you. It's one thing to design a beautiful room, but the styling is not just coffee table books and accessories. A stylist is also going to do the
And the
flowers.
prayer beads, the beads. Everybody loves like these necklaces. Please, and please take the shoes out of your bedroom. Take the shoes. I'm so tired of seeing shoes in shots.
Oh shit, I just did shoes in a shot. Damn it. But you know what I was going for? There was a guitar and I brought a John Varvatos pair of boots because it was meant to be, it's the Murphy bed. So we did
Right,
with Leon, one of the shots that
right.
we- So how I styled it, which does help answer the question, is I wanted to have multiple personalities for this Oclo bed because when you close it, it has a built-in desk. So I brought my vinyl record player, vintage vinyls that I'm staring at it because they're right to my left. And I created a sexy rock and roll lounge, a little bourbon, guitar, hot combat boots. So a stylist is going to help you take your design and create more of a lifestyle image, not just a static image. And they are responsible to not bring anything in. They're not bringing art. They're not bringing accessories. They're not shopping for you. You have to have plenty of that stuff on site. But that third level, do not shoot a project that there's no art on the walls or the art is just, I hate to use the word, but not the most attractive. And don't shoot if you don't have plenty of throw pillows and layering elements because you need to make this house look like human beings and blood is flowing through it. Not
Sure.
just like, and the stylist should work with the aesthetic of the house. It's not about adding stuff and tarting it up. It's about elevating it, but elegantly. And it's a huge investment for designers who don't have that skill set.
Yeah, I don't have that skill set. So there's two more questions. One is funny, Isabel Ladd. I wonder who she is. Besides communication, what are the key qualities you look for in a PR client? Oh, Isabel, let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, well, I feel like I'm on a dating site, Isabel. I like long walks on the beach. I like cocktails and I like humor. So Isabel's the funniest person. I love her. She approaches life with hugs and handshakes. If you all read her business home, she's Kentucky for the Caitlin's 50 States project. So I look for good work. I look for raw talent. I look for somebody whom I look at their images. And I think this is the 15 years of being a designer really helps me to evaluate imagery in a very different way, where I'm seeing something interesting and unique. I also like geographical variety. Everybody isn't in New York. The whole world doesn't exist in New York and LA, though we are pinnacles of this industry. So raw talent, showing interesting, dynamic, different interiors, a unique perspective, sense of humor, somebody who, we're not curing cancer here. None of us are. Laugh at ourselves, laugh at others. kindness, you can feel that right away, especially in the Zoom culture. You can see people, you can laugh with them, then you sort of know they have a good heart. I can smell a narcissist a mile away. Can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta walk away, shake
Uh,
that off. And Isabel, you asked for three. I do believe in long walks on the beach. I'm not kidding.
you're so
Um,
crazy.
I think people who
So
you can break
crazy.
bread with and have a meal with. And I think that's a first good step. That's how Gail and I met. You don't always have that opportunity, but I think for people who are local to you, meeting
Yeah.
first when possible, I think is really important. You'll feel that chemistry right away, and that will lead the relationship. Got to have the good work, whether it's product or product, and a sense of humor. I like goals and I like ambition too. Isabel
Cool.
wants to rule the world. It was like Madonna saying it, you know, whatever she was, 23 in Times Square, you know, what do you want to do? And she's like, rule the world. Like, I'm all about that because that shows chutzpah to me. And
Right.
I like chutzpah because why be in this business and seek out PR if you don't have a little ego to go with that? So
True.
those, maybe I gave you five things, but
Yeah, we'll see. So last question is from Kate Penke. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correct because I'm a stickler for that. We are an interior design firm in the Midwest. Would you suggest to hire a PR firm in the Midwest, or does it not matter? We want more national work, but also want to stay connected to Midwest.
that is a really good question. There are times where having somebody regional is really helpful and having somebody national is really helpful. Um, so you can have a hybrid model because traditionally regional PR is less costly than the counterparts where we sit in the most expensive cities in the world with a certain level of overhead where we need to make a certain living where you go a little further away. So to answer your question, hybrid you can totally do. It doesn't hurt to have somebody who's on the ground that helps those relationships with your region. So I don't think one's better than the other because the last thing I want to do is, without even knowing these people, inadvertently, you know, harm somebody's business or say something. I think there's value to both of it. But
Mhm.
if you are interested in national, your PR rep, wherever they're located, have to have the relationships with the national titles. They are all located here in New York City. And that is not saying that you can't have PR across the country, but you got to make sure that they have the true relationships. And it's not like I met Hadley at a party, you know, I said hi, I walked away. Because, you know, sometimes designers go to an event and they'll meet like an editor in chief, and the polite conversation turns into the designer coming to you and saying, oh my God, she loves me. She's putting me on the cover of the magazine. And I'm like, I don't think that's what the conversation probably was. Let's, you know what I mean? So
Right.
I digressed on that, but just make sure they have the relationships and make sure that the goals that you have, write them down. There's power to writing things down, and then
There
share
is.
those goals with
There
that
is.
person. And I do proposals when I really vet that the person is serious because it's a
Yes.
lot of time and effort. It's not a copy and paste. And you should be able to ask for a proposal, but please make sure you're really interested in the expense and the person that you're speaking to. Don't make people spin their wheels. That's the one thing I'd say out of courtesy. And I think that's the same for an interior designer. You don't want a client doing that as well. But you know, a proposal to me is basically your strategy with a price tag attached to it. So it's laying out your tactics, your objectives, methodology, the outlets you would go to, the program you would put together, knowing that it's not carved in stone and there'll be play with it. And I would approach it like that. And if you have a regional, and there are many regionals that have the national relationships, then work with them.
And I'm going to answer this for Luba. How do designers find PR firms? Is it from Instagram? Well, you can answer that. It's from everywhere. It's just like how you're found as a designer.
Yeah, exactly. I've had some Instagram. To me, it goes back to what I said. It's referral. It's relationship. My business, everybody is a roadmap to referral. And that goes to what Gail said, do good work. Whatever you do, whether you're selling apples in an apple cart or you're designing multi-million-dollar homes or you have a modest, you know, home store, do whatever you do, but do it really well. Hard work to me is always rewarded and it always shines. And that hard work will always pay off. And I think the best referrals are the personal ones through other people. But I've received it from, I have Google ads. Um, press pieces, my Instagram. So it's come from all over actually. And it's a
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we've answered. What? Wait. If you have designed and now specialize in coastal on the mid-upper East Coast, where do you start to know that you have one full job finishing, entire home, and 2 more coming up? Should I read that again?
Yeah. Wait, can I read
Okay,
it?
wait. I'm like, do you want me to read it again? We've got 5 minutes, Raymond, be quiet. And this is from Christine Estep or E-Step. If you have designed and now specialize in coastal on the mid-upper East Coast, where do you start now that you have one full job finishing, entire home, and 2 more coming up?
Oh, great question. I totally
Sorry, I
understand
read it
what you're saying.
backwards.
You are primed to start PR as soon as possible because you want to start laying the introductions, the groundwork to the relationships with your publicist, brokering these relationships with your editorial community, with the work you have now. I think you said you have 1 project with 2 more in the wood and in sort of the burner coming up. That's perfect timing. I usually like my clients to come to me with anywhere from 1 to 3 completely recently completed projects, whether they're professionally shot or not, we can work on that. So that's like a good sort of thing to put into the end of this. So I'd say start looking around and check out Coastal Living magazine. It's one of my favorites. It's a really good one. New England Home.
Yeah. So I just want to thank Raymond for coming on. I want to thank everyone for their questions. Yes, this will be recorded. Yes, you can watch it again. You can always DM me. You can always DM Raymond. We can give tons of names for people you can contact and reach out to. There are so many. And that's it. Until next time. This is May. My birthday's on Tuesday. What?
Hey, I realized that your birthday and my wedding anniversary are the same date. How could I ever forget it? We're like Taurus twins.
Oh my God. Yeah. Woo-hoo. Okay, y'all could tell. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate this. Please let your friends know about this webinar. Please let your friends know about my podcast, Design Perspectives. Everything's great. Make sure whatever you spec for your clients, make sure it's always Schumacher. Thank you so much, party people. Have a great one.
Thank you, love. I appreciate it.
Mwah. Bye, all. Thank you.